All right. Good evening. Hopefully everyone out there is doing well. And if you made it another week, whether you're watching this live or not live, so cheers. We're going to talk a little bit more about beer tonight, but it's getting cooler weather out. You're starting to see the leaves change, just a little bit, not horribly much. Football basically starts this weekend, a lot of the college teams and the NFL. And so, you think fall flavors. Some people think fall flavors, they think pumpkin or apple. But you know what? I think a little bit different. I think something that goes well with sauerkraut and bratwurst. I'm thinking Octoberfest. I know it's not technically October yet, but Octoberfest. So I'm going to drink some Octoberfest kind of beers tonight. So if you got any brew, raise a toast. Cheers. And, before we get started, I do want to take a piece of this bratwurst and some sauerkraut. Oh, anyway. German style. This is an especially good time not to eat with your mouth open since you're all watching me. German style Marzen or Oktoberfest. A beer rich in malt with a balance of clean hop bitterness similar to the Vienna Lager. Toasted bread or biscuit-like malt aroma flavored is expected. Originating in Germany, this style was traditionally brewed in the spring. Marzen means March in Germany, and is aged lager throughout the summer. A stronger version was served early at Oktoberfest. Celebrations became known as Oktoberfest. And, Poppy's coming out. So, these beers are very tasty. You almost say they're a little bit chewy. They have a little spiciness to it, but not necessarily because they're adding spicy like the Belgians. But, because they're high, they have a lot of malt. So I'm drinking right now tonight, Leanin' Kugel. The beers I'm drinking tonight are actually all American, but there's some Oktoberfest. Anyway, the dog's sneaking into the tinfoil that covered my food. It's Leanin' Kugel, which they do I'm totally mispronouncing this one. There's a whole line. I think they do a shandy, which is actually probably one of the more popular lines. But this one is a traditional German. I guess there's some sort of connection of German immigrants to the company. I'm not 100% sure. But it's a pretty, it's not an overpowering beer, but it's got some taste to it. And a medium body, slightly sweet, crisp, clean. So if you like traditional lagers, and you haven't done a lot with Oktoberfest, this might be a good way to transition because it's not overpowering. It doesn't overpower you with the malt. It just gives it enough to obviously change the color, give them that red color, and get a little bit of the sweetness with it. It's not bad. So we'll talk a little bit about the Oktoberfest festival itself. It's the world's largest Volksfest or beer festival. And this is actually coming up in October. Held annually in Munich, which is part of Bavaria, which is an area in Germany. And it can run anywhere from 16 to 18 days, running from mid to late September to early Sunday in October. With more than 6 million people attending from around the world. I'm assuming that's normal years. I don't know what they're going to do this year for COVID. If they're going to have a relaxed, scaled back, or if they're going to do it all. Maybe they'll just do a virtual Oktoberfest and we can all go and drink our beer at home. And, yeah. And it's not just drinking beer. It's a whole festival. They have amusement rides and side stalls and games. A lot of variety of, a whole wide variety of traditional foods. First celebrated in October of 1810 when, I'm going to kill this name, Kropins Ludwig later, actually King Ludwig, married Princess Therese of Saxe-Hildenburg-Hussen. And the citizens of Munich were invited to attend the festivals held on the field in front of the city to celebrate the royal event. And they've actually named the field the Theresienwiese, Therese's Meadow, in honor of the crown princess. And they've had horse races and all kinds of fun things. So the next beer I'm going to try, this is one you can get pretty easily around these parts, being New England in the fall. And they start selling this, I think I started seeing this sold back in August. That's kind of one of the signs that fall's coming. So this is Sam Adams Octoberfest. Again, nice rich color. And a rich, deepish, reddish amber hue. The malt is, and this one actually has a lot more flavor. It has a lot more malt than the first one I had. And it's also got some more, it's got a little hoppiness to it, but not a ton. And they credit it to the Bavarian noble hops. So Sam Adams, again, we know Sam Adams Lager, and they have all kinds of beer in the lager and ale range. Obviously known for the heavier lagers. But they do a good job. Some of the critiques I was reading online was kind of saying it's not the most traditionally balanced Oktoberfest, but I think it kind of gives you a real nice introduction to, what it should be. So again, this one's not too pricey. It's the same as a 6-pack of, regular Sam Adams. And, it's good beer for Saturday night. So back to Oktoberfest. I'm going to have to make sure this is the one that doesn't go on too long tonight. I'm looking at the food. I'm really hungry. But in 1811, there was a show added to promote Bavarian culture. In 1813, the festival was canceled due to the involvement of Bavaria in the Napoleonic Wars. Again, Napoleon is coming through Germany and messing things up so we can't have good beer. Or at least we're a little bit. Like, with the Weston hyphen, I'm trying to remember how to pronounce it, brewer, we talked about I think the first or second night. And, trying to bring his champagne all over Europe. So, after which, though, Oktoberfest grew from year to year. And the horse races started to be accompanied by tree climbing. That was, I guess, a big festival type of event. Bowling alleys and swings. Oh my goodness, they got swings and other attractions. But it's for the 1800s, it seems quite the to do. Carnival booths appeared. There are prizes awarded of silver, porcelain, and jewelry. And actually, in 1832, the date was moved some weeks later because there was a Greek delegation came, and it inspired them to get ready for the 1896 Olympics. So that was the first modern Olympics. And they added a parade, and starting with actually going back to the marriage of Prince Ludwig and Therese Saxe-Hildenburg-Hussen. And since 1850, the parade has become an annual event. 8,000 people, mostly from the Bavarian area, come in traditional costumes and go down Maximilian Street through the center of Munich to the October grounds. And something that is, unique is during Oktoberfest, locals wear Bavarian hats, the Tiroler Hut, which contain a tuft of chamois hair. And historically, hair has been a sign of wealth. So the more hair in your Bavarian hat, the richer you are. And so, if you have a hat with a lot of hair, they're very prized. And there's only been 24 years since they haven't, which they didn't have this thing. So I don't know. This may be, I haven't researched this, maybe the 25th that comes up. First you got Napoleon. Then they took a break for World War I. They had to get mixed up in all that whole Europe war thing. Great War thing. And then, as tool bags often, you ever have this tool bag come to this party, try to take it over, and then ends up having it ended? Well, that tool bag was Hitler. He tried to actually make the Octoberfest into what they call it. They call it the Greater German Folk Festival. Having the country having just annexed Austria. And then they took a break for World War II. Nazis. Hate these guys. But they came back after the war. Beginning in 1950, the festival has been opened with the same traditional procedure. At noon, there's a 12-gun salute, followed by the tapping of the first keg of the Oktoberfest beer by the mayor of Munich. And they proclaim Ozap, or something like that, which is basically, it's tapped, in the Austro-Bavarian dialect. And then the mayor gives the first liter of beer to the prime minister, president of the state of Bavaria, which is like a province within Germany. So we're going to try something a little bit different. This technically, this series is basically meant to introduce people to kind of, a little bit fancier beers, expand their horizon a little bit. If they, you may have been, a little shy about trying craft beers or anything, heavier than a Bud Light or, something like that. Something else you might want to consider if you're kind of in that mood of having reds. There's different kinds of red ales and lagers, and there's Killian's Irish Red. It has a little bit more flavor than your normal lager. Again, it's kind of a heavily commercialized beer, even though the company's been around for a while. And if you're kind of daring, and you want to get into IPAs a little bit, maybe one way that you can kind of ease, if you like the malt beers, there's this kind you'll see a lot, Arrogant Bastard. And Arrogant Bastard, this is not Arrogant Bastard. Arrogant Bastard, heavy hop beer, heavy hop ale, but also heavily malted. So it kind of gives you all that. There's a lot going on with it. But tonight I wanted to, and I haven't been doing enough toast. Cheers, everybody. Fat Tire. Technically, it's not a German lager. It's not, Oktoberfest, but it is a red. It's technically a Belgian, and being a Belgian, it does have some of those fruits and spicy ingredients. So, which is a little bit stricter than, or actually a little bit more loosey than what the Germans allow. I don't know if it would meet the German purity law, probably not. But, let's get some nice flavor. This is an American company. The co-founder of, I believe it is the New Belgium Company, actually named it in honor of his trip through Europe when he was young. But this is also a very, kind of mellow way to get into reds. Reds are, I really like red beers because they do have that flavor, but not usually the abundance of the hoppiness. But that's us tonight. I hope you are enjoying your Saturday night. I hope you had a lovely weekend, and we seem to have some lovely weather today. A little cooler, but I don't mind that. I like it. It's sweatshirt weather. It's heavy beer weather, and most of all, it's football weather. So, give a couple predictions. I'm just throwing some numbers out there. I'm going to say Patriots win tomorrow, 24-13. And I think I've heard that Tom Brady with the Bucs is the underdog, but I'm going to say he pulls it off 27-20 against the Saints. But you can play it back and use it against me. But other than that, hope you're having a lovely Saturday night. Cheers and happy early Oktoberfest.